All right, we're here with Dr. Timothy Dernlan. He's the Vice President of the Association for Classical and Christian Schools. I'm going to be asking him a few questions. So what I met you, probably don't remember, but last year at one of the leadership talks, and then I purchased the book that you wrote, the 100 questions on understanding classical and Christian education. So how about we just start with why write a book like that of understanding classical Christian education?
It's unique enough, and there's so many new parents coming to classical Christian education that I wanted to just give little bite-sized answers to what is this thing we're doing? What's omnibus? Why do we teach Latin? Just a lot of the unique things that we do. Because the more and more we onboard parents and have a shared values and assumptions and beliefs, the better culture we have, and the more we can bond together as parents to provide a great education for our children.
Right. And then you've recently transitioned into this role at the ACCS, am I correct?
Yes, 2 years.
Former head of school before that? Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like being head of school?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's great. There's so many ways that you can partner with parents and have opportunities to have spiritual formation with the students. And so it's a fun ride. It's a fun journey.
Awesome.
It's a fun journey.
Were you planning to get into education?
I did. I went to college to wrestle and major in single leg takedowns. But then I had to figure out something to major in. And majored in education. And my brother, it was the late 90s, my brother started feeding me information on classical Christian education. And it just made so much sense, and it fit well with my Christian faith and understanding of Scripture, and thought this is the true intentional Christian education that we can do. So a lot of times I just refer to classical education as intentional Christian education because that's what we're trying to do. Why do we study what we study? So that we can understand God's world more and more deeply and be ready to go anywhere that He calls us.
So on that, just thinking discipleship of children, that was the school that you were the head of school at, did they have any sort of affiliation with the church at all, or how did that work?
I served at a few different schools, and a couple of them were affiliated with the church specifically, and some weren't. And I think it's either model's fine, but having the intentional partnering with the teachers and the parents and having good communication is really, really helpful to the spiritual formation.
Right, and that's kind of what we see. We kind of see it as a three-legged stool. Of course, there's the family that's primarily responsible for the raising up of their children. But then they're partnering, of course, with the church, but then there's this kind of third part of the stool of the institution of the school. Because obviously homeschooling, you can do that, especially if you're doing it classically. It can be a phenomenal way of educating your children. But this third institution, where now you're partnering with those parents, and they're learning from the church, and that's where true discipleship, spiritual formation can happen. Did you see that play out, in your experience?
Absolutely, and I actually focused my dissertation on this very issue, and how spiritual formation takes place in classical Christian schools versus non-classical Christian schools. And the results were off the charts, that the classical way formed the students for a longer term commitment to the Christian faith. So obviously we know that God is sovereign, and it's His sovereign will who He saves and who He keeps in the faith. But setting that table for the Holy Spirit to work with intentional classical Christian education is just a beautiful thing, and really it creates long-term effects for the students and an opportunity for the parents to be involved and be really intentional in the education as well.
Yeah, awesome. So how about ACCS, just kind of the movement that has obviously grown, over the past 5, I think you said it doubled. Is it doubled in the past year?
We started 30 years ago in 1994, and now in the past 3 years, we've gone from 350 schools, member schools, to over 600 member schools.
Wow.
And it's been really great. So the flywheel's starting to spin, and people are understanding that there's a good way to do Christian education.
Right. So there's been a lot of talk. I mean, Pastor Wilson talked about it, and it was Kevin Roberts. Is that just kind of culture war? What's happened to Western civilization? How does ACCS see kind of their influence on how they can actually be impacting the culture, the current state of it?
We absolutely need to impact the culture for our local communities. So we're not trying to withdraw from the communities or withdraw from society. And put up a fortress. We're trying to have a greenhouse where we expose the children to a lot of things that are going on in the culture, so that they can go out and influence the culture,
Right.
be involved in the culture, start businesses in town, be involved in service projects, and just go out and live the Christian faith and love and serve.
That's good. That's good. This question's taken a little bit different direction, somewhat of an aside to the main topic of our conversation here. But being a former athlete, college wrestler, was it Purdue? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
At Purdue. How do you see, so thinking classically, gymnastic was how they described it, but just kind of the physical aspect of the education. How do you see that?
So I'm sure you're aware, because of the question, that Plato's Academy was started around the gymnasium and the gymnastiki. And so if we only focus on the mind, we run into a possible heresy of Gnosticism, where we just reject the physical world that God has given us and the physical bodies. We need to train the body. We need to move into that space of physical athletics or vocal training, and it's so important. And it's essential to classical education, because as Pastor Wilson likes to say, our theology comes out of our fingertips. So we need to embody it and act out on it. So being physically fit helps to connect body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah. How did you see that work out practically at the schools that you were at? I mean, that primarily through like a physical education class, or?
Sometimes, but also times even as simple as how recess is conducted.
Sure.
What the students are allowed to do or not allowed to do. Just letting them have a chance to explore and have adventure and not restrict them. And so, even with what type of field trips you take, and so just a mentality of how and why you do things.
Sure.
Is just a little different at classical Christian schools, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank
God
you for all
bless
you're
you.
doing.
You guys are
ACCS.
You guys are doing great work. It's not being done well. What are some of your ideas?
Well, I think we both kind of just need to continue studying and continue learning of just kind of the classical way of the importance of it. But it just seems, at least what we've been exposed to, it's just kind of an accessory. We have a PE class, of course. We know that that's important.
Kind of like, here, let's do kickball, or hey, here's dodgeball. I'm like, what? That's gross.
Right. But we've talked about just like, of course, when you have an idea of what you want the kids that are graduating your schools have an idea of kind of intellectually, academically, of course, character formation, where you would want them to be, but actually having where you would want them to be physically.
Yes.
Starting with just want them to be healthy in general, but what is their body capable of physically, right? And so a lot of the stuff that we would teach at our gym, and not just physical fitness, but also just overall health in general, health principles, being able to figure out how to integrate that into the classical model.
Are you all old enough to remember the presidential physical fitness colleges? That's not necessarily the way, but that wasn't a bad idea to say, hey, let's have some standards. Let's see.
Have you heard of La Sierra in California?
No.
Oh, you should look that up.
Are they the ones who do they do a lot of gymnastics and?
Well, this was what, 70s maybe?
60s or 70s.
60s or 70s.
Yeah.
They just had a robust physical fitness program within their school.
Okay.
Where just the things so they had levels where you would basically graduate to the next level based off of your physical fitness. And the kids at the top level they were almost Olympic level athletes, basically, of the stuff that they could do. But it was just, again, not just an accessory to their educational program. It was highly valued, and
that's the thing, making space in the schedule.
Yeah.
Hiring someone like you all who actually knows and cares about it, instead of like, is there a mom who can babysit and kind of do the PE?
That's right.
Like, I don't like. It's where you put your budget, where you put your time. So the first head of school job I took, I was allowed to do PE as well for first grade through 10th grade, because I wanted to learn all the kids' names and I had a little background in athletics. And so the first, I think maybe 2 weeks in, we had a school nurse at that school, and she was trying to figure out why all the kids were having something like the flu or something, because they all had like stomach pain. Turns out it was like their core. We're like, I was working them so hard because I'd been coaching college wrestling till I was 38.
Yeah.
And then my next job was that job right there. And so I was like, I thought I brought it way down, but I was like, hey, we're while I'm taking roll, you guys are going to be doing push-ups and sit-ups. You're going to be doing some laps while I'm
Right.
just kind of getting us going and setting up. And just those simple, like, some sit-ups every day. Like,
Yeah.
they were just like, oh, our stomach.
Right.
And none of us figured out until about 3 or 4 days later. We're like, it's gym class. It's PE
Right.
class. So,
Right. Yep. Yeah, a lot different than, square dancing and kickball and all that stuff.
but we structured ours around a bunch of 3-week units.
Okay.
Because we were still a young enough school without a lot of upper school, and we wanted to push into sports to retain some students through the rhetoric school. And so we ended up doing just a lot of sport-based stuff, like teach them all lacrosse, teach them all like kind of the grammar of lacrosse, and then some logic of it, and then rhetoric cycles through, which was fun. And then the lady who came in behind me just did straight CrossFit.
Okay.
And it was awesome. It was good stuff.
So it's like I'm more than capable of doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm wanting to think about it more classically than the CrossFit model.
Yep. Yep.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. We've got a lot of ideas, and we need to just start giving it some.
So you talking like swords and spears?
Well,
Like
having some type of
marching?
combat
Yeah.
in it. I mean,
Yeah.
basic wrestling, that type of stuff, I think
Yeah.
Some kind of
would all be.
some boxing, and
Yeah.
I mean, especially for the if the boys were doing boxing and maybe the girls, I don't know, something comparable like
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
also trying to think of it in a way that it's like, okay, like if we can get subject matter experts in those types of things, that'd be awesome. But also, we want to think of it in a way that's pretty accessible to any of these schools.
Yes, yes, you can replicate it throughout.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
This is cool.
That's in our. It's in our minds.
Yeah.
It's in our
This is
minds.
cool.
Well, just being a wrestler, just being able to have discipline physically can translate to having discipline mentally, right, and emotionally.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's a.
And sometimes it gives you courage. You know?
yeah.
That's one of the reasons I had my oldest son wrestle for a few years. I knew it wasn't going to be for him long term.
Yeah.
But just he needed something more than just cerebral. He was very academically inclined, and it's helped him like kind of walk around a little bit. With, okay, I can handle my body.
Yep.
So it's good stuff.
That's good.
It's good stuff. Huh.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, I'm fired
We'll be
up.
in touch. We'll be in touch.
Can I get your contact information? Do you guys
Yeah.
You've got his.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I sent you that email about
Yes.
this, so you
Yes,
have
yes,
mine.
yes. Okay, good.
But yeah, I can add him to an email and shoot another one to you just
You
to
guys gonna
remind you.
design some curriculum, or you?
So that's kind
together
of one
some-
of my, basically, I was setting an objective of, all right, I got to see if anybody has anything here.
No.
And
Nope.
the answer is no.
No.
And so my next question is, okay, does anybody here have anything that would be of value for me if I try to set out and create something? Because it's like I have a lot of experience, writing workouts and programs and stuff for adults, and even scaling that back for kids is fine. But thinking about it in the classroom setting, I've just got some gaps in.
And with the understanding that most of our schools are in a wing of a church and
Right.
maybe don't have a lot of
Access to the.
access to equipment. So what can you do with just the physical body
With
or
no equipment. Yep.
Yep. So that's good. So in October every year, there's a call for workshop presenters.
Okay.
You should submit something on this.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So it's on our website on classicalchristian.org, and it's kind of hidden. It's hard to find a lot of times. Sometimes people miss the deadline, and I don't know if we do that on purpose or not. But Tom Spencer is the one who collects the workshops and sets that up. But we need more in this space.
So this October would be set for conference next year.
Yeah. So
goal.
that'll give you a good
That's a
deadline.
good goal.
And here's the good thing: if you get a 5-sentence paragraph on what you're going to talk about,
Right.
and a very skeletal outline, and present that in October, you have time to develop what you want. I
Right.
don't think there's more of a full outline needed until March or so, April, and so if you're selected, but that would be great. My guess is there wouldn't be many workshops in the space, and you might get selected pretty readily. So that would be that'd be huge. It's in Frisco, Texas next year.
Okay, cool.
That'd be good.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
You guys
And
can co-present.
There you go. And we're in the basement of a church right now. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so this year with limited kids, they bust them over to the gym, and that worked.
Yeah,
but
our older kids,
it's not. That's
the other ones were out blacktop. But it was still,
What grades do you have?
So the families that started the school, we had kids, broad spectrum of kids.
Yeah.
So we had a first grade class, we had a 3rd through 5th grade class, we had 2 7th graders and 3 10th graders.
Yeah.
So that's how it was spread out.
Cool. Cool. And then this coming year, you'll be K through 10 or K through 11 or?
We will have 1 senior, so we'll be K through 12. Yep.
First graduate.
First graduate. That's why I was just in the senior thesis